In this introduction, great to be here. I want to thank Four Solutions for making me aware of this wonderful group here, San Diego Food Bank, and Nick Smith-Sebasco for showing me the great technology years ago. I was very impressed by it. I met him at Kane University and was just bowled over by it. You know, I think it was back, I know it was in the 70s when a friend of mine showed me his new device. It was a digital watch. So I told you, right, you know, it's 8:01 exactly. And I got nothing against digital. I got a smartphone. Believe me, I'm not a Luddite. I have digital devices. But I started to realize the danger in everything digital, and right now it's exactly 8:01 and all of that. There's nothing wrong with having that information, but to forget about what a wristwatch really is. It shows you the time it is right now. Of course, it's not 8:01, it's 6:32. But you can see what came before and what comes after. And you see the cycle of time, you see the cycle of life, hopefully, in other ways in your life. And that's what we're here to talk about. The cycle of feeding people, the cycle of making new food out of old food, because that's really what compost is. And I bought my first house back in 1979, as much as anything to show my kids, who were quite young back then, they were very little, to show them where food came from. But it didn't always come from the Safeway tree, the Ralph's bush. It came from dirt and water and sunshine, and dirt with nutrients, not just bare, nude dirt, dirt that has a lot of life. And the many farms in California, I got nothing against farmers. They're feeding the nation, feeding the world. But there's many farms out there where everything comes from outside and chemically. There's not a lot of compost and a lot of big, large-scale farms today. You can put your hand down into the dirt. I'll give you $100 for every earthworm you find at some of these farms. You won't find any. That's not true with the kind of compost and the kind of cycle of life that a lot of people are tuned to, a lot of these groups that are working with the San Diego Food Bank. That's what I started doing in 1979 when I bought my first house. I wanted my kids to see where food came from and where waste goes to. I've been recycling myself since 1970. I started with the first Earth Day. I bought my first electric car in 1970, started doing all this stuff. Pardon me. And I'm not going to talk too long because I want you all to make sure you have a tour of this wonderful facility, and quite specifically this great Four Solutions composting digester. It's an amazing device. And we have many states like California and Massachusetts and many others that are now having laws that have come into play. Next year, it's going to be the deadline for the state of California you have to compost your food waste when you have a facility that's over a certain size. You just have to do it. And so this is a solution. But I'm so impressed here, Jim, with what you're doing with the San Diego Food Bank. It's extraordinary. The amount of people that you feed and the way that you make a dollar stretch and the wisdom of putting those, that 350 kilowatts of solar on the roof. You know, I want to talk about that kind of wisdom, not just doing things like digesting and composting food, but solar. When people look at a building, I'm building a LEED Platinum home right now in Studio City. And most people, it's like that digital watch. It's 8:01 exactly right now. They're just looking at that. What's the return on investment? I'm building a house. What's the ROI? What is it? What does it cost to build that house? Looking at just the cost of building a house or just building an industrial building, that's like looking at an iceberg. And it's the kind of iceberg with just a little tiny piece above the water. You go, wow, that's all the ice there is. That's all there is to it. There's a giant chunk below the waterline. That's the cost of running that house, running that warehouse, you know, running that industrial facility. That's very important to know. We have to look at that if we're in it for the long term, and I think we all are. And you guys are clearly in it for the long term here at the San Diego Food Bank. I want to thank the Cushmans and the Jacobs families for doing what they do, not just with the solar, but the generosity throughout, and the many people that are here, the volunteers and donors who have come out here tonight to look at the facility. A lot of you have seen it before, some of you are seeing it for the first time, but make sure and look at this digester. It is really the most impressive piece of equipment I've seen in a while. And make sure you spend some time. Everybody's out trying to save the environment. I certainly do my share, but make sure you get out there and get your hands or feet in the dirt once in a while too. If you have a little piece of dirt in your front of backyard, grow something. You know, grow some food yourself. If you don't have a piece of dirt in your front of backyard and live in an apartment, get part of a community garden. If you don't have a community garden near you, start one. get back to the cycle of life. We have a tremendous amount of environmental illiteracy now, and we're trying to get our kids to understand a lot of things about the natural world. And there's something called nature deficit disorder. A lot of kids have it. All they are is looking at their little device all the time, and they're glued to that, and I think that's what the whole world is. And there's a big, beautiful world out there that has a lot of living things in it that we need to protect for our own well-being. Even if you don't care about the spotted owl, or the endangered Florida panthers, they are part of a cycle of life that we all depend on. There's a web of life that supports us all and keeps us all aloft. You know, how many rivets can you lose from an airplane before it ceases to fly? Somebody who works in the aircraft industry would probably tell me, depending on the aircraft, if you lose 18, you're dead, you're going to go down. 28, I don't know, but there's a number. You can only lose so many rivets before that airplane ceases to fly. How many plant and animal species can we lose as we're losing them every day? There's a number. And many scientists, people with PhD after the name, are saying we're getting close to that number now. We have to do something to protect this web of life. And this composting drum is part of it. Respect that cycle of life. Do everything you can to help your fellow man here with this food bank and give back. And you clearly are all here to do this today. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.